They say the hardest thing about being homeless isn't the hunger or the cold. It's the way people look through you, like you're a ghost haunting their sidewalk. But the darkest thing I ever saw, it wasn't a crime. It was a woman who used my desperation as a prop for her own ego. And what she did when the cameras, or rather her friends, weren't looking, still makes my blood run cold.
It was February in Pittsburgh. If you've never been there in February, imagine living inside a freezer that smells like wet asphalt and exhaust. I was 22, skin and bones, and I had exactly $3.42 in my pocket. I'd spent 2 hours psyching myself up to walk into a small, family-owned diner called the Rusty Spoon. I just wanted a bowl of chili, something hot, something that would make me feel human for 20 minutes. I walked in, trying to smooth down my matted hair and hide the holes in my jacket. I didn't even make it to a booth. The owner, a man whose face looked like crumpled parchment, stepped in front of me before the bell on the door had even stopped ringing. "Out," he said. "No hello, no sorry, just out." I tried to explain I had money. I showed him the crumpled singles. He didn't care. He told me I was bad for the atmosphere and that I'd spook the regulars. I'd heard it all before, but that day it hit different. I felt the last bit of my dignity just leak out. I went back outside and sat on the freezing concrete right next to the entrance. I wasn't trying to be a nuisance. I just didn't have the energy to move my legs anymore. 10 minutes later, the door opened, and a group of 4 people walked out. They smelled like expensive cologne and high-end laundry detergent. Leading the pack was a woman in her late 40s, wearing a white wool coat that looked like it had never touched a speck of dust. She stopped right in front of me. Her friend stopped too. She looked down at me, her eyes brimming with what looked like tears. "Oh, you poor, brave soul," she said, her voice loud enough for everyone on the sidewalk to hear. She reached into her Prada bag, pulled out a crisp $100 bill, and pressed it into my shaking hand. Her friends gasped. "Sarah, you are an angel," one of them whispered. Another one actually took a photo. I couldn't believe it. I started sobbing. I told her she was saving my life, that I could finally get a motel room for a few nights and a real coat. She patted my shoulder, careful to only touch the fabric of my sleeve, and said, "God has a plan for you," before walking off to her Lexus. For 30 minutes, I sat there holding that bill like it was a holy relic. I was planning my next move: a hot shower, a bed, a lock on a door. Then the Lexus pulled back up to the curb. The woman, Sarah, got out, but she wasn't crying anymore. Her face was twisted into a mask of pure, cold venom. She marched up to me, and before I could even say thank you again, she snapped, "Give it back." I froze. "What?" "The 100. Give it back now," she hissed, leaning down so her friends in the car couldn't see her face. "I only did that because I was with potential clients. I'm not funding your next high. You're a leech on this city, and frankly, you're an eyesore. Hand it over or I'm calling the cops and telling them you snatched it from my purse." My heart dropped into my stomach. I was terrified. I handed the bill back. My hand was shaking so hard I almost dropped it. She snatched it, then, and I'll never forget this, she looked at my little plastic cup where I had my $3.42 in change. She kicked it. The coins scattered into the gutter, disappearing into the slush and sewer grate. "Why?" I choked out. "I didn't do anything to you." She leaned in close, her breath smelling like expensive wine and mint. "Because people like you make me sick. You think you're entitled to a handout just because you failed at life. You're a reminder of how ugly the world can be, and I don't like looking at ugly things." She reached in her bag one more time. I thought she was going to give me a 5 or maybe a card for a shelter. Instead, she pulled out a small orange prescription bottle. She unscrewed the cap and dumped a handful of white pills into the slush where my coins had been. "Those are powerful appetite suppressants," she sneered. "Since you're so obsessed with eating, take these. They'll keep you from feeling hungry until you finally just fade away. It would be a favor to the neighborhood." She turned on her heel, got back into her warm car, and drove away. I sat there in the freezing Chicago wind, looking at the white pills dissolving in the dirty snow, realizing that some people would rather spend $100 on a lie than a single cent on the truth.